Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're tackling a really interesting one, actually requested by Oliver from Denver. Hi, Oliver.
Oh, yeah. What's Oliver into?
He told us he's a massive fan of open-world games, so this should be right up his alley.
Perfect.
This is Season 3, Episode 34A, and as you know, we're calling this whole season Games, Gaming Reviews, and More. We're looking at what makes these digital worlds tick.
That sounds good. So what's the game?
Today, we are diving deep into Terraria. Pixelated world, looks kind of simple at first glance.
Terraria, yeah, another one. Often gets that tag, doesn't it? 2D Minecraft.
Exactly. But that comparison, it really doesn't do it justice. It misses so much.
Totally agree. It's way more of an adventure game, really.
That's what we want to unearth today. What makes Terraria stand out, not just, as a fun game, but maybe even as a masterclass in design.
Okay.
And a big shout out here. A key source for our discussion today comes from Misha St. Ors. Misha's an Adobe creator, a gamer, and actually the producer of this very deep dive.
Oh, fantastic. So Misha knows their stuff when it comes to Terraria.
Absolutely. Misha's article gave us some great angle.
Well, what's fascinating here, and I think Misha probably touched on this, is how Terraria, launched way back in 2011 by Relogic.
Oh, it's been around.
It has. And it manages to be so much more than just that simple comparison. It blends exploration, crafting, really intense combat, RPG progression.
It's a lot packed in.
It really is. It shows how much depth you can squeeze into something that looks straightforward on the surface.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Misha's article really highlights this core loop that defines the game.
Right.
On the surface, yeah, it starts like a lot of Sandbox games.
Yeah.
You land in a procedurally generated world. You get some basic tools, pickaxe, an axe, maybe a short sword.
The usual starter kit. Punch trees, dig dirt.
Build a little hut, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the familiar bit. But almost right away, Terraria shows its true colors. There's this relentless drive towards progression.
Yes, the key word, relentless.
It's not just about sitting back and surviving, it's pushing you. How does that, shift happen so early?
Well, that relentless drive is absolutely central.
Whoa.
Unlike some games where you can just kind of plotter around.
Right, build a nice farm, maybe.
Exactly. Terraria immediately nudges you, or maybe shoves you, beyond just surviving. Take mining, the basic act. It's not just digging tunnels randomly.
Okay.
As you dig deeper, you find new ores, right? Copper, iron, then gold, platinum.
Yeah.
Keeps going. Demonite or crimtane, depending on your world.
Those sound ominous.
They are. Leading up to things like hellstone, chlorophyte, even luminite, way later.
Oh.
But it's not just the ores.
What else is down there?
You're uncovering huge cave systems, hidden little biomes underground, enemies that get tougher and tougher, and crucially, treasure. Chests with gear, accessories.
Ah, loot.
Exactly. So every swing of the pickaxe isn't just, gathering dirt. It feels like a step up. There's a clear power ladder, and that sense of discovery just pulls you deeper. It reinforces your progress right from the start.
Okay, that makes sense. Because gathering is just step one, right? The real power comes from using those resources.
Precisely.
And this is where, as Misha's article points out, the craft and upgrade system just explodes.
It's staggering, isn't it?
It really is. Refining ores into bars, making better tools, stronger weapons, and the variety. Swords, bows, guns, magic staffs, even yo-yos, whips, summon weapons.
Don't forget the armor and accessories that give you special abilities. Flight, double jumps, stuff like that.
So that feeling, starting with that, flimsy copper short sword.
Yeah, feels like a toothpick sometimes.
And eventually working your way up to something epic, like the Zenith they mention. That sounds incredibly rewarding. What makes that journey stick with players?
It's that tangible sense of getting stronger, like you said. Misha notes it's not just the raw power increase, though that's great. It's the story you build.
Your personal adventure story.
Yeah. Terraria nails that feedback loop. Every item you craft feels like a milestone. You remember struggling with that first boss using basic gear?
Oh, yeah. The Eye of Cthulhu, maybe?
Right. And then coming back later, maybe even eventually wielding something like the Zenith, it feels like a genuine triumph. You earned it. That vertical climb builds this really deep sense of accomplishment. Few games really capture that quite the same way.
And while you're getting stronger, you're not always alone down in the mines, are you? Building a home base is, super important.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial.
And it's more than just 4 walls and a roof to keep zombies out. It's about attracting NPCs, non-player characters.
Exactly. When you build suitable housing and meet certain conditions, these characters move in. The merchant shows up early selling basic supplies. The nurse can heal you.
Oh, that's handy.
Incredibly handy. Then there's the demolitionist with explosives, the arms dealer with guns, loads of them. How do these guys change the game beyond just being shops?
Well, they turn your simple shelter into a proper hub, a bustling little town, almost.
Right. They're not just vendors. They're like
Yeah.
pillars supporting your progress. Getting them to move in gives you concrete goals early on.
Build a house, find a specific item, defeat a boss.
Yeah, stuff like that. And their services streamline everything. Imagine being deep underground, really hurt, knowing the nurse is back home, ready to patch you up instantly. Or you need potions. Just pop back and buy them from the merchant.
Instead of grinding for herbs all the time.
Exactly. It creates this strong connection to your base. It's not just a building. It's your town, your safe haven, a living part of your adventure.
Trade in your boring job for a brilliant career using Adobe Creative Cloud. Start learning now with the free trial link in the description.
And while you're building this base, the game is constantly pushing you outwards, too, to explore all these different biomes.
Oh yeah, the world is incredibly varied.
It's not just forest and caves. You've got these creepy corruption or crimson areas, these sort of evil zones spreading.
Yeah, it depends on the world generation which one you get. They're dangerous but have unique resources.
Then there's the dense jungle, scorching deserts, snowy tundras.
Oceans at either end of the map. The spooky dungeon full of skeletons.
You can go all the way down to the underworld, like actual hell.
Pretty much. Lava everywhere, demons. And that's just the pre-hard mode stuff. Later on, you get even crazier places like the Hallow or the endgame Celestial Pillars.
Wow. So each area has its own look, its own music, its own enemies, resources, challenges.
Absolutely. It keeps exploration fresh. You have to adapt your strategies. The environment itself feels like a major character in the game.
That's a great way to put it.
It really is. And that procedural generation means every time you start a new world, the layout's different, the discoveries are fresh. Combine that with the biomes.
Keeps things interesting.
Definitely. Which brings us neatly to where Terraria, I think, really distinguishes itself. The combat.
Engaging in epic combat, as Misha puts it.
Yeah, it's robust. You've got distinct playstyles or classes you can build towards. Melee with swords and flails, ranged with bows and guns, magic with spells, or summoner letting minions fight for you.
You can mix and match too, right?
You can, but the game often rewards specializing, especially later on. And the key is adapting. You might need a different approach for different enemies, or especially bosses.
Ah, yes, the bosses. You mentioned the Eye of Cthulhu.
That's just the start. There's an absolutely astonishing array of boss fights. Huge variety. Well, after the early ones, you get things like giant worms, brains, skeletons. Then later, in hard mode, you fight these giant mechanical versions of the early bosses.
Mechanical terror.
And it escalates all the way up to the ultimate challenge, the Moon Lord. A massive multi-stage fight.
Sounds intense.
It is. And what's brilliant is that these aren't just damage sponges. Each boss needs real strategy. You need to learn their patterns, prepare the right gear, maybe build an arena. Skill is definitely required.
So beating them feels like a real achievement.
Absolutely. And here's the genius part. Defeating bosses is the main way you progress. It unlocks new stuff. New tiers of ore might appear. New NPCs move in. Sometimes the world itself changes.
Which leads us perfectly into what Misha, and honestly, many players, consider the game's most brilliant feature. The progression system, and specifically hard mode.
Hard mode. Yeah, this is where Terraria goes from great sandbox adventure to something else entirely.
It's not just game gets harder, it's more fundamental, right? It happens after you beat a specific boss.
That's right. Deep down in the underworld, there's this huge, intimidating boss called the Wall of Flesh. Defeating it is a major turning point.
How so? What actually happens?
The moment it's defeated, your entire world transforms. It enters hard mode. It's not just a difficulty setting you toggle, the world's state changes.
Whoa. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means suddenly much tougher enemies start spawning everywhere, even on the surface. New biomes can appear or spread, like the Hallow, which is like an anti-corruption zone. Existing biomes get new, deadlier inhabitants.
So everything becomes more dangerous.
Significantly more dangerous. But crucially, new, much more powerful ores also appear deep underground, allowing you to craft vastly better gear.
So the challenge ramps up, but so does your potential power.
Exactly. It throws this massive curveball right when you might be feeling comfortable, thinking you've mastered things. You have to relearn, re-strategize, re-gear. It basically doubles the game's content lifespan.
That's a really clever design.
Trade in your boring job for a brilliant career using Adobe Creative Cloud. Start learning now with the free trial link in the description.
It's incredibly bold. It opens up whole new tiers of crafting, a bunch of new, much harder bosses, new events, new exploration. It keeps the game compelling for, potentially hundreds of hours.
Wow. Okay. And speaking of keeping players hooked for ages, we have to mention the modding and community side.
Oh, absolutely. Huge part of Terraria's longevity.
Like a lot of Sandbox games, it really thrives on its community, right?
Yeah.
There's a big modding scene.
Massive. Especially built around the official modding tool, T-Mod Loader. It's integrated right into Steam now. Makes it super easy.
What do these mods add?
Oh gosh, everything. Countless hours of new content. We're talking entirely new items, weapons, armor sets, accessories, brand new bosses, some incredibly complex.
More bosses.
Tons more. New biomes to explore, new gameplay mechanics, quality of life tweaks the community wants. If you connect it to the bigger picture, it's player-driven longevity, essentially.
So even if you somehow manage to do everything in the base game,
Which is already a huge amount.
there's always something new waiting in the modding community. It's practically infinite.
Pretty much. It shows how flexible the game's core design is, that it can support all this creativity.
And that brings us to the enduring appeal overall. It's not just mods. Relogic, the developers, they've supported this game for, over a decade now?
Over 12 years. With continuous substantial updates, they kept releasing these massive content packs, even calling some of them the final update, like Journey's End.
But then they added more.
They often find more to add. It's clear they just love the game and the community.
Yeah.
That dedication is rare and really resonates with players.
And it still holds up visually despite the pixel art.
I think so. It's got a charming, timeless style. It's clear, readable, and allows for a lot of creativity in enemy and item design. Plus, that procedural generation means every world feels a bit new.
So it's that mix, the RPG depth, the intense combat, the deep crafting, the building freedom.
Yeah, all wrapped in that compelling progression loop, driven by exploration and boss fights. It just keeps pulling you back in. It's a testament to thoughtful design, creating lasting engagement.
So, circling back to Misha St. Orr's article, the core message seems to be, Terraria is way more than just digging holes.
Absolutely. It's an epic adventure packed into a 2D world.
A real testament, like Misha says, that simple graphics can hide immense depth, and that smart progression keeps players invested for years.
Couldn't agree more.
So thinking about our listener Olimer, the open world fan, and everyone else tuning in, what's the big takeaway here?
I think Terraria proves that you don't need a good question to ponder.
Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Terraria.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive. I'm Misha, and let me send out a huge thank you for listening. If you want more content on gaming, education, or other fun stuff, head over and find me on YouTube. Link is in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next deep dive.